shadows of loyalty. There's a particular kind of silence that falls when you believe someone you've trusted with your entire heart has betrayed you. It's not just the absence of sound, it's a vacuum that seems to pull everything into it. Your memories, your confidence, your ability to trust. That hollow feeling in your chest where certainty used to live. We've all felt it. That moment when the foundation you've built your life upon suddenly shifts, and nothing feels solid anymore. This is a story about that silence, about that hollowness. But it's also a story about what exists in the shadows of our understanding, the truth that sometimes hides behind our pain, waiting for us to be ready to see it. The friendship between Michael and Ethan had been forged through 15 years of shared history. The kind of friendship that doesn't need explanation or introduction, the kind that becomes part of your identity. They had weathered college together, stood beside each other at weddings, held each other up during funerals. Their connection wasn't just about the good times, but about the raw, unfiltered reality of two lives intertwined through the messy business of becoming adults. You know the type of friendship I'm talking about. The one where you don't have to explain your thoughts because they're already understood. Where silence is comfortable because you've earned it together. Michael had built his small architecture firm from nothing, pouring every ounce of his creativity and determination into making it succeed. And Ethan had been there for every milestone, every setback, every triumph. As the financial advisor for the company, Ethan knew every detail of the business, every vulnerability, every strength. Their professional relationship was built on the bedrock of their personal one. Trust wasn't just given, it had been earned 1,000 times over. Which is why the discovery felt like a physical blow. The discrepancies in the accounts appeared during a routine audit. Small at first, easily overlooked. But as Michael dug deeper, the pattern became unmistakable. Funds had been moved, records altered. Not enough to cripple the business, but significant enough to be intentional. And every trail led back to one person, Ethan. That moment of realization comes with a particular kind of nausea. The world tilts slightly, and everything you thought you knew becomes questionable. 15 years of friendship viewed through this new lens suddenly looked different. Were there signs he had missed? Warnings he had ignored? When confronted, Ethan's response was perhaps the most painful part. No dramatic denial, no passionate defense. Just a quiet acknowledgement that yes, he had moved the funds. No explanation offered, no justification given. The silence between them held all the broken pieces of their friendship, and neither seemed to know how to begin picking them up. Michael severed all ties, professional and personal. The business accounts were secured, passwords changed, access revoked. But the emotional fortress that Michael began building was far more impenetrable. You can change passwords, but how do you protect a heart that's been violated by the one person who knew all its vulnerable places? Have you ever noticed how betrayal colors everything? How it casts its shadow not just over the relationship that's been damaged, but over your ability to trust anyone? The world becomes a different place when seen through the lens of betrayal. Suddenly, everyone's motives are suspect. Every kindness might hide an agenda. Every truth might mask a lie. For months, Michael operated in this shadow world. The business continued. Life moved forward in its practical demands. But something essential had been lost. Not just a friendship, but a certain way of moving through the world with openness and trust. It was during this dark period that the industry collapsed. A major economic downturn hit the architecture sector particularly hard. Firms with decades of reputation and seemingly unshakable foundations began to crumble. Projects were canceled, contracts dissolved. What had seemed secure became suddenly precarious. Yet somehow, Michael's small firm weathered the storm. While competitors declared bankruptcy, his business remained solvent. Clients stayed loyal when they had every reason to run. And most puzzling of all, an anonymous investor provided crucial backing just when the financial situation seemed most dire. The revelation came not in a dramatic moment of confrontation, but through the quiet persistence of truth emerging from shadows. A junior accountant noticed anomalies in the historical records, patterns that didn't make sense given the current stability of the company. Following these breadcrumbs led to a startling discovery. Ethan had been quietly moving assets for nearly a year before the confrontation, systematically protecting portions of the company's wealth in diversified, secured accounts under complex structures. What had looked like theft was actually an elaborate shield, constructed by someone who saw the economic collapse coming and acted to protect what mattered most. Not just the business, but the dream it represented. Those funds he had moved? They had tripled in protected investments while similar assets in other firms had evaporated completely. The anonymous investor keeping the company afloat? A trust established and funded by Ethan himself. Most revealing of all were the dated letters, never sent, found in Ethan's office after he was hospitalized following a car accident. Letters explaining everything: the warning signs he had seen in the market, the protection plan he had implemented, the legal reasons why he couldn't disclose what he was doing, even to Michael. Letters written but never delivered because Ethan had made a choice. Better to be seen as a betrayer than to risk the legal complications that could come from Michael knowing the truth. There's something particularly powerful about discovering that your pain, as real and justified as it felt, was based on a fundamental misunderstanding. It's humbling to realize that while you were building walls against someone, they were quietly laying down their own reputation to protect you. The reunion between Michael and Ethan wasn't easy or immediate. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal in a single moment of clarity. But understanding began to grow in the space where accusation had lived. Gratitude slowly replaced resentment, and something new began to form. Not the restoration of what was lost, but the creation of something perhaps more valuable, a friendship tested by fire and found to be genuine. It's strange how sometimes the most painful chapters of our lives reveal the most beautiful truths, if we remain open to seeing them. The people who love us most deeply don't always show that love in ways we can immediately recognize or understand. Sometimes, true loyalty works in shadows, asking nothing, expecting nothing, content simply to protect what matters. The silence that falls after betrayal is devastating. But there's another kind of silence that comes with the humble recognition that we don't always see the full picture. That sometimes, what looks like betrayal from one angle is the most profound loyalty from another. That silence isn't empty, it's full of grace. And perhaps that's the most important thing to remember when we feel most betrayed, most alone. The story isn't over yet. The shadows that seem to hide betrayal might actually be concealing the most faithful kind of love, the kind that's willing to be misunderstood in service of what truly matters. Because sometimes the people who love us most are willing to let us hate them, if that's what it takes to keep us safe.